After a few bad defensive outings from the Devils, help might be on the way. Bratt, Pesce, and Hughes are set to return sooner rather than later. Not a matter if, just a matter of when. How close are they? We have a lot to break down in today's episode of Locked On Devils. Buckle up, everybody.
You're Locked On Devils, your daily podcast on the New Jersey Devils. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hi, this is Bryce Salvador, and you're Locked On Devils with Trey Matthews.
Scores! Oh, Stevens stepped up, nailed it. Brodor's got the puck. What a shot. The Devils win the Stanley Cup.
Alrighty now, what is up, New Jersey? Welcome back to the Locked On Devils podcast here at the Locked On Network. I'm your host, college hockey play announcer, Devils writer for Pucks and Pitchforks, and also part-time credential media member, Trey Matthews. Before we get into the good of today's episode, allow me to sulk in the bad just a tad bit more. In the previous episode, I gave my thoughts regarding the Devils' embarrassing loss to the Tampa Bay Lightning, suffering back-to-back barn burner, gut-punching losses in front of your home crowd. Unacceptable, but there was one particular play that killed any momentum that the Devils were trying to develop, because it was in the third period. The Devils scored 2 unanswered goals, but Dawson Mercer was called for goalie interference, had to go to the penalty box, and right off the faceoff, Jake Guentzel scored, and that just took the momentum out of the Devils' sail. They went from, I would say, anywhere from 15 to 20% chance of winning the game, and that's me being generous, to basically a 0% chance of winning, and everybody was livid. And I was looking for answers, and courtesy of Gabriel Trevino of NJ.com, here's what he put out on social media. He took a snippet as to what was being discussed in the Situation Room, and here's what was said. Rob Schick, the former on-ice official working the Situation Room tonight, told me that you have to look at the review and see where the low official is and think about what he's seeing. Schick said it's on Mercer, the attacking player, to make a reasonable attempt to avoid contact with the goalie. In this case, he said he doesn't think Mercer did make a responsible attempt, and that's probably what the on-ice official saw as well, which led to the goalie interference penalty. Regardless, Schick said that this is an example of a penalty call that will be clipped and reviewed with the on-ice official who made the call to get his viewpoint on it. Schick, though, seems to agree with the call. Okay, I'm going to push back on that a little bit. What do you consider a reasonable and safe attempt to avoid the goalie? Yes, the written rule in hockey is that you cannot touch the goalie, and that's why players get pissed after the play is blown dead and you're trying to jab the puck on in. We get that. But the problem is that you got Victor Hedman, who stands 6'7", weighs 245 pounds. He's all up on Mercer. He's basically pushing him into Johansson. I don't know what Mercer was supposed to do in that sort of circumstance. He literally was being smothered. He couldn't escape even if he tried, because Hedman has him in height and weight and is really giving him no inch to work with. I don't know if Hedman was trying to make a smart hockey play and just bait Mercer into getting a goalie interference called on him. Don't really know if that was intentional or not, but I think that was a very bad call by the referees. And the fact that the on-ice and off-ice officials are agreeing on it, I really don't see how you can call that goalie interference. But like I said, the Devils have no one to blame but themselves for putting themselves into that situation, because the fact of the matter is that the Devils scored enough goals to win the game, but they put themselves behind the 8 ball. Anyway, enough reflecting on the negativity. Let's focus on some positives. What is the biggest news surrounding the Devils in today's episode? Well, let's play a soundbite from head coach Sheldon Keefe. Here's what he had to say at a recent Devils practice. Take a listen.
They will travel with us today. We haven't made a determination. I would think it's fair to say at this point that we would see them this weekend in one of our games, be it in in Detroit or against the Islanders. We'll see how they responded to practice today, how they get through it tomorrow, and we'll make a decision what's best with them. Again, we've got a busy schedule upcoming, so we've got to make sure we manage them appropriately and monitor where they're at.
Brett Pesce and Luke Hughes set to return to the Devils very soon. They are making the trip to Detroit, and whether they play or not, that's still to be determined, just full disclosure. But the fact that the Devils are getting two great defensemen added back into their system, that's going to do wonders for them, because I've been seeing a lot of you post on my social media feed, when and how are the Devils going to fix their defense? Well, I think a lot of you are forgetting that Pesce and Luke have not made their season debuts yet, and the Devils are sort of in a similar situation as they were last year. In the first segment, I will focus on Luke Hughes and Brett Pesce and what they could potentially bring to the roster. Then in the second segment, I will play a soundbite from Jesper Bratt, and I will share my main takeaways heading into the next matchup against the Red Wings. And then in the third and final segment, similar to what I did before the Lightning game, I will give you some background information regarding the Red Wings and share my overall thoughts, because I think the Red Wings are one of my personal favorite teams to watch that are not named the Devils, because they have an interesting mix of young players and veteran players. And some of those veteran players have won championships, including Patrick Kane, Vladimir Tarasenko. I'm excited to see what they could do, but I will save that for the third and final segment. All right. First and foremost, aside from their playing abilities, getting Pesce and Luke inserted into the lineup adds more depth to the Devils' blue line. That was one of their biggest Achilles heels last season. On their third defensive pairing, they've had to rely on Shimon Nemeth, Seamus Casey, now Daniel Misule. With respect to those three players, they're all still trying to find their footing in the NHL. Seamus Casey right now is in the AHL. Sheldon Keefe said that the scheduling was catching up to him, and the Devils hadn't even played in 10 games. Daniel Misule, while he was solid in his NHL debut, I'm not going to put my trust in a rookie to try to help the Devils defensively. And for Shimon Nemeth, there's still some growing pains. He got his first point this season in the last matchup against the Lightning. I think Nemeth needs to redefine his defensive game a little bit more, because what he has told Devils media, including my buddy Chico Resch, is that people think that he's an offensive-minded defenseman. That's not really his game. His game is to focus more defensively, but I still think he has a lot of work to do in order to reach that level. But I can understand where he's getting at. When you add Pesce to your lineup, you're getting a defensive-minded player. Last season for the Hurricanes, he appeared in 70 games and he racked up 13 points. Offense is not Pesce's bread and butter. But here's something that I want to factor in. He had 113 blocks last season. And do you want to know how many giveaways he had as well? He had 18 all season. So he knows how to handle the puck. And when I spoke to Pesce over the summer, that's exactly how he described his game. There's nothing special to it. There's nothing flashy. He's a defensive-minded defenseman. It might put you to sleep, but at the same time, offense sells tickets, but defense wins you championships. And I think Pesce can certainly do that. We've seen him sometimes elevate his game offensively come playoff time when he was on the Hurricanes, and he has that experience. I'm excited to see what Pesce can do, because both him and Luke are top 4 defensemen. I'll talk more about that in the second segment. And then for Luke Hughes, my boss, Nick Villano, over at Pucks and Pitchforks, recently published an article talking about what Luke brings to the team. I will leave a link in the description if you want to check out the full article, but here's a brief snippet. What's really going to help is speed. The Devils have been desperately looking for someone who could carry the puck out of their zone and into another zone with speed all season. That's Hughes' specialty. He has some of the fastest bursts of speed in the NHL. He can hit speeds over 20 miles per hour with consistency. Hughes led all defensemen with 199 bursts of over 20 miles per hour last season, according to NHL Edge stats. Those same stats had the Devils in their own zone just 38% of the time before the dreadful Lightning game, which only hurt that number. They are in the offensive zone 43% of the time. Both of those numbers are below average. What did I say in the previous episode? I said the Devils had a tough time clearing the puck, especially on the PK. I'll give credit where credit is due. When the Devils do establish themselves in their offensive zone, they are dangerous, which is why, despite letting up 8 goals against the Lightning and 6 goals against the Capitals, the Devils still scored a decent amount of goals themselves. The past 2 games, they have scored 10 goals. That's significant. I don't want anyone to overlook that. So they're getting those decent looks despite not getting that much extended offensive zone time. When you get Luke Hughes back into the mix, that can do nothing but help them, similar to what Nick Villano said in his article. So getting Hughes and Pesce back is going to be vital for New Jersey. Once again, they are traveling with the team to the Motor City, but whether or not they play, that's still up in the air. A lot can happen once this episode goes live. All right, we're going to hear from Jesper Bratt, and I'm going to share some of my main takeaways heading into the next matchup against the Red Wings. But before we continue, let me tell you guys about FanDuel. Hey, NFL fans, you can start the season with a big return on FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. You'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Look at FanDuel.com to see the odds. And please remember to always gamble responsibly. All right, here's what Jesper Bratt had to say to the media post-practice and the mindset that his unit has going into the game against the Red Wings. Take a listen.
How do you kind of digest the disappointment from what that performance was for you guys yesterday?
I think there's only one way, and that's to talk about it, to learn about it, and then go out today and perform and execute and be better. I think that's the only way of getting out of these things, is to come in with a really good purpose and just the understanding that we have to get a lot better. You put that effort into the practice to create better habits, you create more energy, and you take that with you on the road. That's the only thing you can do.
And do you feel that was kind of what today was about for you guys? And I heard Sheldon saying, if you execute the way you guys are in practice, you only need to do things once to be successful.
Well, yeah, I think that today was a better step, and I think today we kind of got an understanding too where we're at, and the way this score really transitioned into how we play. I mean, when we play, when we kind of shoot ourselves in the foot and we play a certain way and we play soft, and we're gonna get scored against. The league is that hard that if you're not on top and you're not following the structure that the team needs to play with, then you're gonna pay for it. And it's really the same way for the other team. When we play the way we know that we can, and we play with our system and our speed and our strength, and we do damage to other teams. And I think today was just a realization about that. And each day it's gonna be hard, and that's how you get successful. That's how you create consistency. And today was a good learning and good work day.
Okay, I want to share some of my main takeaways heading into this game. Full disclosure, 2 of the 3 remain the same. I decided to take scoring out of my main takeaways just because I think we all know that the Devils are a legitimate scoring team. I've said that in today's episode, yesterday's episode, on social media. Scoring is never an issue for New Jersey. But once again, making those defensive plays, sometimes getting those saves late in the game, that's been their biggest issue this season. My first takeaway is protect the goalie once again. Someone asked me on social media, am I concerned for Jake Allen? And the answer is no. I'll just cut to the chase. Jake Allen, prior to the game against the Lightning, was phenomenal. He did well in Prague. And he also had a shutout against Utah. And let me reiterate what I said in the previous episode. Jake Allen got off to a very good start. After the first period, the game was knotted up one apiece. It easily could have been 3-1 or 4-1 in favor of the Lightning, but Allen was making those big time saves. Unfortunately, his valiant effort went to waste once his defense failed him. I'm tired of the Devils letting their goalies left high and dry. They got to protect them, and it starts by clearing the puck, which leads into my second takeaway, which is this replaces scoring. Clear the puck. I'm going to keep preaching this until the cows go home. The Devils have got to do a better job of clearing the puck because it can lead to offensive zone time. You can't keep the puck in your defensive end for an extended period of time because one, you're going to get tired bodies, and that's not a recipe for success. But another thing is, if your opponent is pouncing on those rebounds, you're overworking your goalie once again. Jake Allen, the loss was not on him. The defense in front of him wasn't really all that good, and it was evident when the Devils were on the PK. That's my second takeaway. So protect the goalie, clear the puck. The third and final thing, and these all coincide with one another. Defense. I said it in segment 1. Let me say it again. Offense sells tickets. Defense wins championships. I'll give credit where credit is due. Daniel Misule and Jonas Siegenthaler were solid defensively. Some of the Devils' defensemen had a plus-minus in the minus category. Dougie Hamilton, -3. Brendan Dillon, -2. Shimon Nemitz, -2. Daniel Misule, he had a plus-minus of -1, but I will go a little easy on him because, once again, he was playing solid defense, and it's not as bad compared to people like Hamilton, Nason, Cotter, Holla, who each had a plus-minus rating of -3. This goes to the forwards as well. Play better defense because defense will make you a successful team. However, I do have hope that Pesce and Hughes will join the team sometime this week. If not in the next game against the Red Wings, then maybe in the very next game against the Islanders on Friday or the Anaheim Ducks on Sunday. I think one of those 3 games, Pesce and Hughes are due to make their return to the Devils lineup. And I'm really excited because you add 2 top 4 defensemen, you get more depth, and you don't have to put your trust in players like Nemitz, Misule, and formerly Casey to try to fill out your blue line. Those are my main takeaways heading into the matchup against the Red Wings. Let me know some of your main takeaways in the comment section if you're watching on YouTube. All right. Before I read you the Red Wings preview, let me tell you guys about Game Time. I've actually used the Game Time app before to purchase myself some MLB and NBA tickets. Game Time Picks. Curation makes it easier to save more on sports, concerts, comedy, theater, and more. All-in pricing. Toggling this feature shows the total upfront with no surprise fees at checkout. Seat views. Get a good view of your seat in the app before you buy. The lowest price guaranteed, or Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Game Time ticket coverage. Your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in ticketing industry. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. What time is it? It's game time, ladies and gentlemen. And now, let me tell you guys about Prize Picks. I actually love using Prize Picks, especially now we're back with the basketball season. You can win up to 100 times your money on Prize Picks with as little as 4 correct picks. Prize Picks is the best way to get in on the action in sports in over 30 states, including California, Florida, Georgia, and Texas. Prize Picks is the only real money daily fantasy platform with an injury insurance policy so your lineups can stay in play even if one of your players gets injured. If your player leaves in the first half and doesn't return, Prize Picks keeps your lineup alive. Download the app today and use the code LOCKEDONNHL to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Download the app today and use the code LOCKEDONNHL to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. Run your game. All right. In an article published by Pucks and Pitchforks, I believe was released a few weeks ago, we, the writers over at Pucks and Pitchforks, collaborated on a project in which we made our preseason predictions. And I said one of my teams to look out for were the Detroit Red Wings because I think they are quite compelling. Here's what you need to know about them. After being closest to a playoff spot in the Eastern Conference amongst teams that did not qualify in 2023, 2024, they tied the lowest ranked playoff team in points, but lost on the regulation wins tiebreaker. The Red Wings hope that a pair of Stanley Cup winning veterans will help the franchise return to the Stanley Cup playoffs for the first time since 2016. Wow, nearly 10 years since the Red Wings have been in the playoffs. And I think if you go back to 2016, the Red Wings were rocking a lengthy streak of always making it to the playoffs. I think it was one of the longest streaks in the NHL. It's sort of like what the New York Yankees were many years ago, which is they would always make the playoffs. How far they would go was just up for fate. But anyway, Detroit will have a full season from returning three-time Stanley Cup champion Patrick Kane and added Vladimir Tarasenko via free agency in July, just 10 days after he won his second Stanley Cup. I must say, Patrick Kane was one of my few surprises last year because his tenure with the Rangers was pretty forgettable. We saw it on full display when the Devils played the Rangers in the 2023 playoffs. He had to have offseason hip surgery, which I think a lot of teams were hesitant to bring him on board. Obviously, Patrick Kane is one of, if not the greatest American player to ever play this game. And I was just like, look, I think it's almost time for him to hang him up. He's had a great career. He's established himself as a longtime Chicago Blackhawks player, but he decided to sign with the Red Wings, and he surprised a lot of people, including me. And I thought I would never see the day in which Kane would be rocking a Red Wing sweater because of his lengthy battles as a Blackhawk. But here we are. He might be one of the X Factor pieces that can lead them back into the playoffs. The key to the team, however, remains Captain Dylan Larkin, who became the first Detroit player since Henrik Zetterberg to record 4 consecutive 30-goal seasons, as well as young cornerstones in last season's team points leader Lucas Raymond and star defenseman Mo Seider. That's what you need to know about the Red Wings for the 2024-2025 season. I hope they do have success. I would like to see the Red Wings back in the playoffs. Obviously, I hope the Devils beat them. The key for the Devils, like I said, just protect your goalie, clear the puck, and play some solid defense. We'll see if Pesce and Luke are added back into the lineup. But the one thing I want to tell you guys is, like, think of the glass half full. I put this tweet out last night. Don't let the Devils' 8-5 loss against the Lightning distract you from the fact that Dougie is on a 3-game point streak. Palat and Nemitz picked up their first points of the season. Jack had a 3-point outing. Bastian has 2 goals in 3 games. Nason and Meyer have 9 points in 9 games. They're point-per-game players. Mishuel and Siegenthaler were solid. There's a lot of good for this Devils team. It's just going to take them some time before they fully develop. We'll see what happens, but I'm actually looking forward to this matchup against the Red Wings. But anyway, that's about all the time I have for you. Thanks for listening. What are your thoughts of Brett Pesce and Luke Hughes possibly returning to the lineup sooner rather than later? And what are your personal expectations for them? And how will they make the Devils better? I'm curious to hear your thoughts. Leave a comment down below if you're watching on YouTube. If you're listening on a podcast streaming service, hit me up on my personal X Page app at TreyMatt4 or the show's X Page app at Locked On Devils. As for today's episode, like I said, that's all the time I have for you. Continue to stay safe. Have a wonderful day, New Jersey. Go Devils. I'll catch you guys next episode. Thanks for listening once again.